today I'm going to be showing y'all the beginner basics of embroidery. There will be not really a part 2, but like a sequel to this video of the beginner stitches. So in that video, I will be showing you 7 stitches I like to use in a lot of mine and that are pretty popular. So I will link that in the description below, and I will also have it at the end of this video that you can click on to watch it after this video. It's just a few more little skills that you can learn to go along with beginning to embroider. First things first, I'm going to tell you what you're going to need. You are going to need some embroidery thread. This is my favorite brand of embroidery thread. The quality just literally cannot be beaten. It is DMC. The next thing that you will need is a pair of clippers or a pair of scissors. Embroidery hoops. They make these in plastic and wood. I prefer the wood for the aesthetics of it, and they come in all different sizes. As you can see, you will need needles. Any kind of sewing needle will work fine. You will need your material. So I'm going to be doing just an embroidery on a piece of woven cotton. It's very tightly woven. It's a pretty sturdy fabric. That way it will hold up well. If you want to draw your own pattern or template on, you are going to need either a pencil, or I prefer to use this blue fabric pen because you can actually write on fabric with it and then it actually erases with water. So let's get started. So the first thing that you're going to do is you are going to put your fabric on your embroidery hoop. This is really simple. The small piece, the inside piece, goes on the back. Place your fabric on it. Place your bigger hoop with the clasp on it. Press down. Sometimes you may have to loosen it a little bit to get it on there. Okay, now you're going to tighten this. And as you tighten, you may want to go around and pull this just to make sure that you do get it tightly on here. This will ensure the quality of your artwork. If I have a lot of excess, I will go around and snip some of this off because I don't really want it to get in the way. If you're doing a t-shirt or something of the sort, obviously you're not going to be able to just chop off the rest. The next thing is you're going to put your design on here with your marker or your pen. And I actually have traced off a little diagram of Texas. I am actually going to trace this on here, and then I'm going to do some flowers kind of coming out of it. I want my flowers to kind of come out of this. The very last thing that I'm going to do is embroider the border. So for now, this is just a guide. I'm just going to start putting my flowers on here. So then the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to take whatever color you're going to start with, and you're going to thread your needle. Now the thing about this thread, embroidery thread, is that it comes as a strand, but the strand actually has 6 strands inside of it, if that makes sense. So this is one strand, but if you look, it's actually made up of 6. So what I like to do is split it in half if I'm doing something a little bit daintier, and you kind of have to be careful not to let it tangle. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside and save it because I'll probably use it. Tie a knot at one end and thread your needle at the other. So I'm going to do some blue bonnets because that is the Texas state flower. And I'm going to use this French knot method, which I outline exactly how to do step by step in my stitch type video, which will be linked in the description and also at the end of this video. And I love French knots because they just give it such a 3D look. It really brings a lot of personality and dynamic to the piece, I feel like. So you just start filling in your space, and I will go ahead and actually skip ahead to a little bit further once I have some blue bonnets on here. I'm not going to sit here and make you watch me do every single French knot one by one. So now I have all of my blue bonnets on here. So what I do is I flip it over, and to tie my knot, I usually keep it on the end of the needle and I twist it to make a knot. So I come around and then back up through using my needle. That just is easier because sometimes it can get hard with just your fingers. So then I have my knot here, but it's still loose. So I take my needle and I place it in the middle of the knot as close to where I want the knot to be on the back of the canvas. I just pull, and that needle holds that knot in place right there, and it pushes the knot up against the canvas so it's not loose on the front. Snip off the end. The next thing that I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna add a cactus or 2 just because it's Texas and why not. So I'm gonna take one of my greens and pull some off here. Once again, I'm gonna split it. So for these, I might kind of draw some out just because I'm not 100% sure where I want them. Okay, so I've got a few cactuses drawn on there. Now I'm just going to go in and I'm going to fill these cactuses in. And for this, I'm kind of just going to do longer stitches just from top to bottom just to fill that space in completely. And these type of stitches usually make for a pretty fast fill-in time just because there's really no technique to it other than just up and down to fill that space. Alright, so there we have it, my cactuses. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing and tie my knot. I'm going to add some stems to my blue bonnets that I had drawn previously on here. So as you can see, they're kind of floating in the air right now, so I'm going to give them some stems. So I might go in and add some small little leaves on here, tie my knot. The next flower or little shrubbery thing that I'm going to do is a red Indian paint flower, which are also popular in Texas in the springtime. They're so pretty. They're like, ugh, they're almost prettier than blue bonnets, to be honest with you. So I'm going to take this red color. Now, sometimes instead of splitting the thread ahead of time, I will go ahead and tie a knot at the end, and then I will split it, so it doesn't really split it into two separate pieces, but you still have 3 strands on either side, as you can see. And so then I will only thread this side and start with this one. And then this one will already be tied against the back of the embroidery whenever you finish with this one, and I'll show you that. And sometimes when I pull to the knot, since this one is hanging here like this, I will take it and I will wrap it up here just to keep it out of the way until I'm ready to use it. So as you can see, that kind of pulls it out of the way now. Red Indian paint flowers are pretty petally, so I'm kind of just gonna do each little embroidery stitch as a different petal and just kind of build on that. And later I might go in with a lighter color or this orange and kind of fill in these spaces. So I will go ahead and get all of my bright red stitches down just like this, and I'll skip to the part where I'm going to fill in the spaces with different colors. So I've kind of filled some more of the space with the red Indian paint, so I will just come on here on the back, tie my knot. Now I'm going to show you, I'm kind of going to go and fill in some more of the space with this orange, and I may not use as much of the orange just because I don't want it to overtake the red, which is the main color. So I might only use 2 of the 6 strands at a time for this. So once again, I'm going to pull this knot tight to the back, and then I'm going to wrap this around up here to keep it out of my way. And I'm just going to fill in the area. So I added my orange. As you can see, this is really starting to come together, but I'm going to go in and fill some more of this space. I'm going to add some stems to my red Indian paints, and I am probably gonna maybe put some grass coming up behind some of these things just to fill some more of that space. So as you go, you can kind of evaluate what needs some more attention, and I feel like these blue bonnets are kind of the focus of the piece, but yet they don't really stand out in the best way to me. So I am going to take this lighter purple, and I'm actually going to go in and I'm just going to add some little accents. I might take 2 strands at a time, and I might go in and do some smaller French knots in between some of these darker French knots that I had already done to maintain the integrity of the texture of the blue bonnets, but to just give it a little bit more pizzazz, you know? And that's the cool thing, is you can always add on, and you can even take off by cutting the thread out. Alright, so the next and last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take black or whatever color you choose. I'm going to do black so that it stands out, and you are going to outline, I'm going to outline this state border. I think I'm going to use 4 strands for this because I want it to be a little bit thicker than some of my flowers, but I still want it to be dainty. So around the top here, starting here and going all the way around till I meet this other flower or cactus, I'm just going to simply embroider it in a straight line along these edges. Sorry. Yes, in a straight line along these edges. And I am going to kind of try to keep my stitch lengths about the same length. For the most part here, I'm going to use a back stitch, which is covered in my stitch video, and this is a really simple stitch just to follow along this line. Now as you can see, where it starts to get a bit curvy, I am going to have to decrease my line size just to make sure that I follow these curves rather than just make straight lines here. So once I get to this spot where my flower overlaps the border, I am just going to skip that part and meet back down here where these flowers start to come up from the bottom, because I do want my flowers to kind of appear to be 3D coming out of the bottom of the state's border. So there you have it, the great state of Texas. I think it turned out really cute. The only thing I have left to do is to wash away this blue ink, which is a water-soluble ink pen, and it's amazing. So I'm just going to run some water over this, let it dry, and I will show you the final product. So it is dry, so all of the blue is gone now. And I know I said there was only one more step, but this is the actual last step, sorry. The last step is to secure these ends to the back so that you have an adorable little embroidery project. You can hot glue it down just like this around the edges, which works really well, but I actually ran out of hot glue yesterday. I am just gonna take a light colored thread, and what you can do is you just tie a knot like normal and thread your needle like normal, and you simply just go around the edges here on the back. So close it like this, and you just go around the edges. And what this is going to do is once you have gone around all of the edges, it's going to pull the edges tight inside of the hoop to where you cannot see it from the front. So I'm just going to keep going like this and pulling it as I go. And this does not have to be pretty because, like I said, you're not going to see it from the front. So once you make it back to where you started, you can evaluate if it is tight enough. So pull it tight and flip it over and look at it from the front. So I think it looks good, but I am noticing this spot is kind of sticking up a little bit, so I may just continue to go around and take extra care to really pull that spot in. Okay, so there you have it, and all I'm going to do is I am just going to secure my knot here on the back of this piece, and you do want to make sure that you have it pulled tight. Okay, so there we go. Now you can hang this or set it somewhere. Ta-da! So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it. I love to embroider. It's really calming. I feel like it can be kind of a stress relief activity. Sorry for this sun. You can really get creative with it. There are endless possibilities. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like this kind of content. At the end of this video, there will be the sequel video of the different stitch types, so hop on over and watch that one as well. Bye, thank y'all for watching.